seems like there's a little bit of heat surrounding Brandon Aiyuk. Now, I worked out in Sacramento for a year and a half. I know some people out there. I'm not saying as an insider. I'm talking about people who cover the team. And there's a little bit of a mix here. Grant Cohn, who's known as somewhat of a shit stirrer at times, has been pointing towards Aiyuk could be traded going off what John Lynch said at the Combine last week, which he was asked directly if they would trade Aiyuk or whatever, and he didn't really say we want Brandon. He didn't stand by the player. And there's, the fact that the Niners are selling or trying to sell 10% stake of their team. And it sounds like Jed York, who is the owner, is trying to buy into a European football club. So they might want to try to tighten the purse a little bit. And they're looking at Brock Purdy, trying to get a deal done with him. So all of that is background. There are people that believe Aiyuk could be available. There are people in San Francisco and the Bay Area saying it doesn't make any sense. He's not going to get dealt. Is Brandon Aiyuk, is he a reasonable option for the Patriots right now?
Yeah, I definitely think so because, I do think the Niners have some interest in moving him. Look, I mean, how many months ago was it that the Patriots basically had a deal worked out with the Niners to trade for Aiyuk, and they had they had the highest offer as far as a contract for Aiyuk. Now, we know some things have changed in terms of, who's in charge with, Vrabel and Cowden and John Stryker and Elliot Wolf. I mean, we know that Elliot Wolf wanted to do that deal. Do those other guys? I mean, it wouldn't be, if you're the 49ers and you're putting Aiyuk on the block, isn't it your first call to the Patriots? Now, what complicates it is that Aiyuk's coming back from ACL and MCL surgery.
Right.
He was injured in week 7. Optimistic timeline would probably put him sometime near the beginning of the season to be ready to go and possibly play. We all know that ACL injuries, it's really the second year after that when you're back to your old self. I would think that the Patriots would want the 49ers to eat some of his contract, which he's due a roster bonus, a sizable, I think it's like $22 million coming up here a little later in the month. Would the Patriots want the 49ers to eat that and they'll take the rest of the contract? Would it be because of the injury? Would it be a conditional pick? That sort of thing. So I do think that the Patriots would have some interest in Aiyuk. But there's a lot of things that complicate it.
All right, so a few things. Interestingly enough, Aiyuk, as you said, he tore his ACL in week 7. If you look at Kendrick Bourne tore his ACL in week 8 of 2023. So if you want to have a similar trajectory, you've got a guy in Bourne that came back in early October from his ACL tear. So that could certainly be a time frame you could go off of. I wouldn't guarantee it because everybody's body reacts differently, but that's what you really be looking at. Somewhere likely, if things go well, you would be looking at about October-ish for Aiyuk to be back. And the option bonus that Greg speaks of is just under $23 million, $22.855, and the team owes him that on April 1st. So if an Aiyuk trade is going to happen, folks, it's going to happen in the next 2 or 3 weeks because it doesn't make any sense for the 49ers to pick up that option and then trade him. So if they're going to move him, they're going to move him before April 1st. By the way, just to update something here, Schefter on the Pat McAfee show said the 49ers are willing to listen to trades for just about anyone with their current cap situation. So again, for people wondering, why would they trade Aiyuk if they just paid him? There you go. It's, as I talked about earlier, financially, it looks like the owner has said enough is enough. I paid a shit ton of money the last few years. I don't have a Super Bowl to show for it. So we're cutting some of this. And so obviously that tells us Brandon Aiyuk's available. And it's just whether or not the Patriots want to work a deal out, because we know the Patriots were interested last year, as Greg said. And you could imagine that if the Patriots are comfortable with the draft asset that they'd be asking for, and maybe taking some of the money, as Greg mentioned, then they'll make that deal. And what else is interesting, Greg, is, with Aiyuk available, this might put some pressure on some other receivers to make decisions. And especially like for the Patriots, like if the Patriots are, let's say they're back channeling with T Higgins, even though Higgins was franchised, if they're back channeling with Higgins, now they could try to get Higgins camp to push on Cincy. If Higgins is interested in coming to New England, we don't know. But now you could try to push T's team to push Cincinnati to try to come up with a solution, because you're going to say, hey, look, at a certain point, we're going to move on. Like, we're going to pivot, and we got Brandon Aiyuk on the table right now. Here's my question for you, just before we get to the draft. What would you be willing to give up for Brandon Aiyuk?
I mean, depending on how much the money, if any, the 49ers eat. I mean, if they eat that first year of the deal, like that roster bonus that's due, could be a third. I would also, revive sort of a player thing. Kendrick Bourne. Are there any other players like Devon Godchow could be a fit for them? Because who is it? I think Javon Hargrave, they might be out on with their team.
Yep.
That I could see that being sort of a swap. So if the 49ers are eating money because of that first year, the ACL recovery and all that stuff, could be a third or fourth and a player, fourth and a couple players. But yeah, I mean, I would rather not give up a top 100 pick, but I would think about it.
I would think about it to give up a top 100 pick. You got 2/3, of course, because the Judon trade. So my question would be, is San Francisco willing to deal a pick back? We see that all the time, right? Okay, I'll give you a third if you give us Aiyuk in a fifth or Aiyuk in a fourth. I'll give you the third. And, of course, money would also, as you mentioned, Greg, be a part of this. If you're willing to eat a chunk of it, now you're really talking, because the Aiyuk deal kicks in this year. So what you're looking at is 3 years and about $76 million, right? So if you get San Francisco to eat a chunk of that money, and you have Aiyuk under contract for the next 3 years, and you're going to pay him, $50 million over 3 years. I mean, that's just over, $16 million a year for a guy who could be a number one. Of course, the big question is the injury, but that's why you're getting him at the cost that you're getting him at. If he wasn't injured, then you're having to give up at least a second-round pick. So, I think it's a very interesting option for the Patriots, especially given what they did last offseason and how they really, really wanted Aiyuk. I can't imagine they woke up today and said, you know what, we're out of the Aiyuk business. I think it depends on the parameters.
What's going on, everyone? Tayler Kyles here for CLNS Media with a very exciting announcement. Here at Patriots Press Pass, we will be introducing bonus tiers. Now, this will not affect any of the content that hopefully you've grown to know and love over here at Patriots Press Pass. It's all going to be some brand new stuff and extras so we can connect with you more and also provide you some more in-depth and high-quality content. Hopefully, you guys are going to like it. Here are the tiers and what you should be expecting from all these new bonuses. At Tier 1, we've got Rookie Starter. That'll come with ad-free content, early access to videos, 5% off of all merchandise, and even custom emojis. At Tier 2, we've got All Pro. Once again, ad-free content, early access, 10% off merchandise, custom emojis, but that'll also come with player profile film reviews and draft profiles. At Tier 3, we've got GOAT status. Same as all the other tiers, but it's going to be 20% off of all merchandise, and we're also going to have custom segments, Discord chat rooms with myself and other show hosts, as well as live film reviews with myself and whomever we've got on the podcast for that day, hoping to have some pretty fun guests.